one of the most innovative things that we have embraced is diversity. Diversity in background and diversity in culture and diversity in thought really is what creates this most incredible product, like this blend of thinking and people, and ultimately ways of engaging audiences that we've never really thought about before. And that truly is exciting to me.
Welcome to No More Bad Events, a fun and insightful podcast for professional event organizers and for anyone at any level interested in producing nothing but the best events. Each week, we'll talk with legendary event professionals to get an inside look into what they think makes a great event. And in the process, we'll draw out insider secrets, non-traditional approaches, and compelling stories from the most captivating personalities in the business. No More Bad Events is produced and presented by eSpeakers, the most trusted online platform for the best keynote speakers in the world. And I'm your host, Scott Bloom, comedian, event MC, and now your podcast host. Let's get started. Hello, folks. Thank you so much for joining us on another exciting episode of No More Bad Events. I want to welcome all our first-time listeners. Thank you for clicking play on this particular episode. Something tells me you first-time listeners may have some connection to DJ and John. I'm just guessing here, but I have a feeling you're like, hey, I know those guys. I want to listen to them, see what they have to say. And of course, I want to say thank you and hello to all our loyal listeners who come back time and time again. Today, we have an incredible lineup for you as we dive into the world of immersive learning, audience engagement, and creating unforgettable experiences. Joining me are two brilliant minds in the industry, DJ Hanson and John Sideris, co-founders of BlueprintNYC, who are here to share their expertise and insights. In this episode, we'll explore the fascinating realm of learning, discussing various methods that cater to different learning styles. From self-led experiences to choose your own adventure approaches, DJ and John believe in giving learners a sense of control over the content they consume and how they consume it. DJ and John also shine a spotlight on their proprietary Bluebird platform, which utilizes interactive features to keep internal audiences engaged between events. It's got the ability to facilitate two-way conversations, push live updates, and provide training. It seems the perfect tool for connecting teams and ensuring consistent messaging across touchpoints and across time. So get ready to be inspired as we explore the strategies and techniques behind creating captivating experiences with two of my favorite engagement experts, John Sideris and DJ Hanson. I know you have a big digital media department, and when you are trying to engage audiences, how is it different to engage from a virtual standpoint? What are devices or formats that you use to grab those people? And is there a difference between just doing a purely virtual as opposed to a hybrid event?
It's interesting, Scott, when we opened our doors in 2012, we immediately made the decision to develop our own meeting app. And that's simply what it was at the time, just a meeting app. And of course, it's evolved and developed over the course of the past 11 years to what's now known as the Bluebird platform. So we also invested heavily within our digital department. So we have a pretty robust crew at Blueprint. We have, coders, developers, project managers, UX designers, et cetera, that are constantly evolving the Bluebird platform, not just for live meetings, but we also utilize it for internal communication. So, it's really important, I think, as you know, like what happens between the live touch points? Like you have a national sales meeting, then you might have another launch mid-year, but how are you keeping in touch with your internal audience, with your sales force, with your reps? For instance, between those events itself. So Bluebird platform is incredibly powerful because it really enables leadership to stay connected, to have continual conversations, two-way conversations with their reps, to be able to push out live updates, marketing updates, messaging, training, et cetera. So it really has become incredibly useful for keeping the field connected, keeping leadership connected to the field, as well as the field connected to leadership. So within the Bluebird platform, we engage audiences in the variety of ways. It's very interactive and not only hosts agendas and content, but it really allows for all sorts of interactivity on site, as well as if we're doing a hybrid meeting itself. So I'd say, through that, we've really learned ways in which we can engage audiences virtually and hybrid that are the same in some way, but also very different than on site. We also have a component called BPTV, Blueprint Television, that is a streaming component within the app itself. So that allows really attendees to really just open the app and see a meeting or some sort of live update from anywhere they are. They can access it on their phone, on their tablets, or on their desktops.
See, it's funny. I've always been talking to companies prior to the pandemic and saying, hey, you need something to be communicating with their teams more effectively in some sort of, I wouldn't have called it virtual back then, but in some sort of digital way. And I was always pitching myself, hey, I could be that host, that internal spokesperson host. They get to know me. They enjoy the humor, but I'm also helping deliver the message. Maybe I start with, hosting the meeting, and then I'm the follow through, the pull through all the way through the year. So I love that you guys are doing that. It seems like Bluebird, the platform, that's a differentiator that a lot of companies don't offer. What are some other Blueprint differentiators that you folks have that separates you from your competition? What other similar capabilities, and how does that better engage audiences and add value?
I think it starts with what I said earlier. Like, we're 100% focused on the internal audience in healthcare. That's how we started back in 2012. Like, we knew our subject matter expertise was in healthcare. We had both the sort of the engagement and creative background, but also the scientific and subject matter expertise to deliver in that healthcare space. And it's kind of an interesting thing. Someone asked us recently, like, why healthcare? Like, why did you choose healthcare? And I think for us, we're incredibly passionate about that space. We're incredibly passionate about the reality that it really takes your heart and your mind to deliver effectively in this space. And so that's where we're kind of most passionate. But I don't think we realize in the end sort of the dividends that would bring to stay wholly focused in that area, mostly because when you look at other production companies, it's always a big part of their group, but there's always tech and there's always F&B or finance or whatever it is. And for us to kind of show up with the team that has that healthcare expertise, I think our clients on that end feel it and know it and realize that we're going to take a lot off their plate when they engage Blueprint, because we know the space really better than anybody else. But it also really informed how we designed our company to ensure, because like I said earlier, like, we know that the healthcare audience is one of the most highly educated, highly exposed audiences to all of the innovation, all the cutting edge. Like, they experience things, they travel, they go to museums, they see AI, they see AR, they see VR, they see the metaverse. Like, there's nothing that we can really introduce them to, but we have to meet them where they are. And so we really did build a company that honors that and says, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I don't like doing pharma, it's not creative. We think it's the most creative space you can possibly be in because of the audience that's there. And it's the most challenging space to continually surprise and excite them in ways that they never have before. And so we're highly committed to doing that. But we knew that we couldn't operate in that siloed fashion. Like, we knew we need to build our company focused on every single one of those engagement touch points, which is why Blueprint is very much equally dedicated to our production arm and our training and learning arm and our internal comms arm, because we know all of those are significant points of engagement for a healthcare audience. And we want to be responsible for that entire story. Like, we want to make sure that whatever is happening in that big general session space is being pulled through into those workshop rooms and then pulled through into those comms programs. Because right now, so many companies are working with a different training company, different production company, different comms company. And there's, from an audience perspective, they're hearing it from so many different angles. And so we built our company to be able to say, hey, we can sit at the table with you and help define what that story and what that messaging needs to be on a consistent basis across every touch point of communication for the next year, to ensure that they're feeling that consistency and that message sort of redundancy in a way that's powerful and effective and engaging. And so for us, the lines are incredibly blurred. You learn in general session, you get motivated and energized and excited in an immersive workshop. Like, there's so many different ways to blend our production and our strategy into all of those spaces that I think is particularly meaningful for the healthcare audience.
I love what you're saying, because, this is a podcast about events, but you're taking it obviously past the event. the event is happening throughout the year. There's a full story. There's a lot of information to communicate and to continually be connected to those people who are, the stakeholders in the company. You have a great quote on your website that says, "We believe the best thing we've ever done will be your next project." And I think that's another way to demonstrate your passion. What is it that gets you so excited? And I'll ask this to John. John, what gets you so excited about being in this industry? And as you said, you had templates in the past, but the industry is evolving. What you can do is evolving with tech and what people are willing to do. What gets you excited about this business?
I think it's just that. It's the fact that it's ever changing. And the evolution that we've seen, not only in the last 30, 20, 10 years, but in the last 3 years in itself, that is what is really, I think, sometimes nerve-wracking, but it also exciting at the same time, because we're seeing opportunities that we've never had before, opportunities to engage audiences in different ways, opportunities in which to bring in, multimedia, theater, technology, people. Like, really, there's no boundaries, I think, when it comes to what we can incorporate into audience engagement in general. And I think something that we've discovered, people often talk about innovation. We have clients that ask us, what makes you stand out in terms of your technology or innovation? And I think, for us, something that's hugely important is our investment in our culture and in our people. And we've truly found that one of the most innovative things that we have embraced is diversity. Diversity in background and diversity in culture and diversity in thought really is what creates this most incredible product, like this blend of thinking and people, and ultimately ways of engaging audiences that we've never really thought about before. And that truly is exciting to me.
And you work, obviously hand in hand with the clients. What role does client collaboration play in the creative and event design process? I'm sure you're taking input, you're taking intake of what they're looking to do. But as you said, it's a continuous process. It keeps on moving throughout the year. So how does the client fit into the creative process?
Well, I mean, obviously, they're the most significant subject matter expert that we have to rely on throughout that creative process. And of course, we see varying degrees of sort of aptitude and, sort of ability to participate sort of effectively in the creative process. But again, in the healthcare industry, you're primarily working with marketing teams who are responsible for marketing these brands to HCPs and to consumers in really compelling and creative and exciting ways. And so they're as exposed to and have the same level of expectation for creativity that we would, I believe. And it's another reason that we're so excited about working in the healthcare space, is because we find so many of our key stakeholders who we're partnering with, who we're collaborating with to deliver the best product. They at least have a very high expectation for what creative means, and they have a really high expectation for innovative and cutting edge, sort of approaches to what we're doing. It's interesting that you picked out that quote, and you do obviously really good research before your podcast around our best project is our next one with you, or whatever the exact quote was. But I think clients really resonate with that because they don't want something that just happened to work before. I feel like in this space, particularly when we have clients who are not too cautious and not too safe, who are like, oh no, I want something new, untested, that this audience has never seen before, that no audience has ever seen before. That's where we find we have the best collaboration, is when they're pushing us to sort of break boundaries and deliver something new and fascinating and innovative. And so that's when I think our collaboration and creative sort of partnership explodes into something super exciting. So again, most of our clients have that really creative flair that they're looking for in their meetings. It's whether or not they have the time to kind of pay attention to it.
Really, we can be as creative in many ways as our clients allow us. We often hear we want different, we want out of the box, we want something that's never seen before, which sometimes lands on, well, not really. We want to be safe, right? So it's those clients that allow you to really just, put it out there that those are really, I think, the most exciting partnerships that we have and the most creative. And I'd also say that I think through the years, we've also noticed that our clients that are really willing to take risks, put themselves out there, are some of the most successful leaders, I think, in the industry.
You both have been in the industry for quite a while. I don't know if...
What are you saying, Scott?
I'm saying you guys have been in this business for decades, and we'll stop right there.
Started as children, child actors in the business. Yeah,
yes, you started very, very young. I have as well been in the business for decades, and we've seen, we were talking about the transformation of events, and one of the biggest changes I think over the years, and it's been a while now, is the general sessions are getting shorter and shorter because we realize, the people need to be interacting more. They can't just be sitting there watching. They need to be involved, and there's more that you can do as far as, I think, training on a smaller level than you would obviously in any sort of general session. So what are some of the unique custom workshops that Blueprint offers to its clients that, allows not only interactivity, but maybe a unique way of processing information?
Yeah, we're really proud of the way we approach adult learning and sort of the learning curriculum. Where we show up best for sure is in that face-to-face learning experience, as opposed to like pre-launch modules and so on, but where we really can blend our sort of creative and production chops with our adult learning chops is in those workshop settings. And I think first and foremost, I think we find a real balance between some traditional learning approaches along with some more innovative immersive learning approaches. We found that if you try to rely solely on the immersive, sometimes you don't have the sort of stickiness you're looking for, or sometimes the regimen that you need to make sure that you're really getting that return on the learning that you're delivering. And so I think we've come to understand that you need a nice blend of general session, sort of immersive self-led sessions, and then some more directed sessions as well. And so I think we know how to put together an agenda that's the most beneficial for an attendee from an engagement standpoint, but from a learning standpoint and from an activation standpoint. We're most proud, of course, of our more immersive workshops for sure. And I think one of the things we always try to say, and again, when you consider the healthcare audience as being sort of a highly educated audience, but also working in a very localized geography that only they know, like working in Minnesota is different than working in Florida for sure. Totally different environment. We do like to create these experiences where we say we'd love to put the attendees in the driver's seat. So whether it's sort of a self-led experience, whether it's a choose your own adventure, whether it's you get a book ahead of time and you're choosing the courses, the elective courses that you're going to be taking, we're often utilizing that method for part of the agenda where they feel like they have control over the content they're consuming and how they're consuming it. Because it's not only what they need consume that might be different, or what skill they need to acquire that's going to be different, but it's also very much about how they learn. They may be better at something much more tactical, or they may be better at something where they're up on their feet moving around, or they may be better at learning in a classroom setting. And so we're trying to create an environment that allows for all those different learning styles and allows for different type of content to be consumed that's really directed by them and their manager. And so that's where we have the most fun, is in those sort of expo style sessions where they're able to move around and make decisions about the content they're going to engage with and how they're going to engage with it.
Something that's incredibly important to our clients are KPIs while we're talking about workshops. I know they're not sexy, so to speak, but they're incredibly important. And yes, Scott, pharma can be sexy. Always say it.
You can say it. I can't. But go ahead.
So what's really important is to really provide actionable data. And really, through the use of our Bluebird platform, we're able to really do that. We're able to track attendance reports, knowledge reports, and really engagement tracking. And that information allows not only our clients, but us to really take a look at what is most effective or has been most effective, so that we can adjust, right, for future events or workshops, or really learn from the work that we've done and see how effective it actually is, how effective the learning is. And that's something that I did want to make sure to mention, because it is also incredibly important to us as engagement experts, as well as our clients.
Well, I was going to ask you, how do you track audience retention, what they're learning? So that's a great way to do that. Seems like, Blueprint has a leg up on the competition just by, having the foresight years ago to create your own app that I'm sure these clients are loving, because it's giving real-time data. You're getting KPIs, you're getting ways to push out information. So technology seems to be very important, at Blueprint. I understand one of your workshops, you have something, I heard DJ once talk about something about a simulator. You want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's definitely one of our, and it's actually a great place to kind of where the KPIs do come to life. What we have created is it's not a template, but it's really an approach to sort of real world application that we call the simulator. And it's turned into an incredibly effective tool because it really blends what I was talking about before, where it's sort of a self-led experience that is highly curated and customizable for each rep, that allows you to really engage in a way that's most meaningful for you, while also providing opportunities for real world application. And so what our simulator is, it's an environment that we create that essentially replicates an office multiple times that people need to go through and deliver in a very real world way the proof that they've incorporated everything they've learned in this meeting into their conversations with their various customer types. And while people have done simulations and certification things for years, it's highly regimented, it's highly scheduled. You go and you sit with somebody, you have 3 minutes, you have whatever. Where this is an environment that we create where you really kind of let them loose, and you understand that you're going to go into an environment that's very much, from a market access standpoint, from sort of a competitor standpoint, very much aligned with an office that you might have that incorporates the physician's assistant, the nurse practitioner, the doctor, the office manager, like all those people. You're not told, you just know you're going to go and call. You're trying to get a call in with the doctor, of course, but you're not scheduled for a time. Just like in real life, you're going to sit in a waiting room with your fellow reps. You're going to see people walking by that you can jump up and grab and try to have a conversation with and try to get in front of one of your colleagues. You're going to be as deliberate as you can to hit all of those customers in that office. You're going to be measured on who you're calling on, how many calls you get in, and how effective your call is. And this whole thing is sort of managed through the app to ensure that you're sitting in the right environment that's going to be most meaningful for you, but also capturing it along the way as you're engaging with each of those customers within that environment. And so what we've found over the years is people are like, there's no real world experience that can happen in a ballroom at a Marriott in Orlando. I think we've blown that expectation away. And now they're like, that was very real. That was very challenging. Some people don't like it because it's a little too real. But from a learning perspective and from a measurement perspective, you get incredible data in this moment that's meant to be very safe. And this is the place to make mistakes and stumble and be coached and be able to figure out how to correct around that. But it took us a while to get there. I'll tell you, to be able to build something that didn't feel like chaos and feel like a big mishmash. So it's highly regulated, highly scheduled chaos. You just don't realize it. And you don't realize that we're have an eye on you the entire step of the journey for each of you. So it's really a powerful experience that is the culmination of a lot of our meetings where people leverage it.
So let's talk about some Blueprint success stories. Can you share a success story where Blueprint was presented a client challenge and the approach resulted in positive and measurable changes for your client?
One comes to mind, DJ, in particular the Exploratorium. This is something that we did a number of years ago. We had a very large pharmaceutical client come to us and said they were having a national sales meeting, and they really, really wanted to, and they meant it this time, do something out of the box, non-traditional. They didn't want a general session. They didn't want speakers. They didn't want workshops, which was an incredible challenge to say, like, well, what do you want? Really, it was our job to really uncover what their objectives were with that. And one of the things they kept talking about was we want to treat our reps like adults. And we feel like they have the capacity to identify where they need further development, where they need learning, where they need tools. Like, we should not have to spoon feed it to them. So they asked us to create an environment or an experience or a meeting, if you will, where these reps could come to and really just have a completely self-led experience and go through sort of these. We created these various immersive experiential stations, if you will, within a large, almost like imagine a convention space. And each one had a specialty, and they could go to them. And they utilized Bluebird as their tool to be able to really bring them through, to be able to have pop quizzes, competitions, curated experiences that are interactive. And it was incredibly successful, incredibly successful. They had never seen anything like that before. The reps had never experienced anything like that before. And the result was tremendous. The learning, I think, was off the charts. Reps felt like they were empowered to be able to self-identify where they needed further development or where they were already good, to go, so to speak. So I think after the meeting, when all of the results came in, all of the KPIs, all of the data, we saw that we had something that was really unique and incredibly successful.
That's great. And you know what I'm fascinated by listening to both of you is that, your thinking is innovative. You had, as I mentioned, foresight to see that there needs to be more connection between what's going on in a session at an event and what goes on throughout the rest of the year. I'm sure this culture sort of permeates, because everything comes from the top down, permeates your entire company. So what type of culture, we talked a little bit about this, but what kind of type of culture have you instilled with your team? And how does that integrate with the clients you work with?
The word that comes to mind, and we have our core values, which I could rattle off, but the word that comes to mind is the culture of enthusiasm. One of the reasons we wanted to start Blueprint or start our own company even, and back in 2012, we had no idea where we would end up or whatever. For all we knew, it was just me and John doing a few events here and there. But, obviously we've grown into a pretty robust company, but we knew early on that we couldn't sort of go to the well of kind of the existing industry insiders. Like we wanted to build our own set of resources. And that was a commitment. Like we brought in people who came from social work or came from fashion or came from the sports industry or came from pharmaceutical, like clients, that kind of thing. And we liked who they were. We liked their enthusiasm. They liked their excitement for what we could do in our industry. We loved their ambition and their commitment. All we had to do was teach them how to do it. And so we did. And we're really proud of our talent retention. We have people who've been with us for 10 or 11 years from the beginning who are now running departments, are our best EPs, our best creative directors. But they didn't know this industry 8 to 10 years ago. This was new to them. And we realized we had to go find these people and train them on how to do that. We, of course, infused it with people who had the experience, but we're really proud of the team we built now. Like most competitors in our industry don't know the people on our team because we didn't pull them from the freelancer pool that everyone kind of pulls from. We sort of built them from the ground up. So it created this culture of enthusiasm that we maintain, and that our clients feel that we feel really sort of privileged to get to do this highly creative, highly energizing experience of pulling together these incredible events and pulling them off with this great team of people. So that's what comes to mind for me when it talks about culture.
I think another great example of that, just to add on to what DJ was saying, like if we have an RFP or a live pitch, for instance, we really look at that as an opportunity to put our young folks that are being mentored, that are new to Blueprint, sort of right in the fire, so to speak, well supported, if you will, but putting them right in front of the client. And we found that it's 9 out of 10 times been an incredibly supportive experience. The client loves it. Like they see what we're doing. They see these young people being mentored and developed into these roles and positions that, they never may have imagined being involved with. So that in itself is something that when we are able to do that, we are incredibly proud. Like we stand back like proud papas watching our kids or our birds like leave the nest and really develop a skill set that I think is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated by companies that do that. And I think it's a great technique to take people before they've learned bad habits. As you said, this industry is, a lot of people have been aging out and a lot of people retired over the last few years. Yeah. And I'm always wondering, where are those young people? And I'm glad you guys grabbed them, 10, 12 years ago, and they are now becoming the veterans, but they were trained with the core values that you both have, not just enthusiasm, but to be creative, to be innovative. If a company was considering partnering with Blueprint, what is the one thing that you'd want these potential clients to know about your company?
I would say the thing I'm always most proud of is when a client says to us, "Well, Blueprint had my back every step of the way." That's what we want our clients to feel. We have a highly committed, highly creative, very kind, smart team who is going to be there for you every step of the way. Yes, we will deliver innovation. We will deliver creative. The product is going to be everything you hope it can be. We're most proud when a client's like, "God, they had my back. I'm so glad I had Blueprint in my corner because they took care of me every step of the way." So that's where we show up the best.
Yeah. And I would say, we have a number of clients we've worked with for many years, repeat clients. Those are the clients that often fight to work with us. to fight to work with Blueprint. Often there's a lot of competition out there. There's a lot of coworkers or other folks on their marketing team, for instance, that may have relationships with other production companies. But it's really the clients that know the value that we provide that we are, I'd say, the proudest of. When they come to us and they say, you know what, I'm going to the mat for this. We want Blueprint to produce this launch. There's no one else who can do it. Like, those are the moments I think that we really strive for.
Well, I think you guys are doing a great job. And I hope for the people who are listening are realizing that where we're moving now as an industry, it's going beyond just what's happening physically at that event, that you need to be considering all the different touch points, areas to pull through this information throughout the year. You folks have been doing it with your own platform, Bluebird. You've brought together a dynamic team because you brought people who were young and who were open to learn, that you were able to instill a lot of the values, a lot of your creativity and experience, and brought them up together. DJ John, thanks so much. Always a pleasure. I'm actually going to be talking to some of your folks next week just to meet some of the new folks on the team. I don't know if you're aware of that, but
we encourage that. We need you, Scott. Like in this,
we miss you.
No, yes, it's worth saying. Like you're bringing a level of engagement that's necessary now, and answers that like our clients are so busy. A lot of times they're like, I can host this. A, they don't have the skill to host it. B, they don't have the time to prepare to host it either. And so we really do need, and they just don't have the skill set that you do. So like, we're glad you're in our orbit because you provide something that's really necessary, I think now even more than ever. So I'm glad we have people at Blueprint talking to you. We push that. I know Adam, I think, is going to be talking to you. He's definitely the guy to be speaking with.
Great. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that conversation. Yes, I appreciate everything you said. Once again, thank you guys for joining me here on No More Bad Events. I appreciate it so much.
So glad to be here. Thanks for having us,
Scott. Thanks for having us.
That's it for now. Thanks once again to eSpeakers, the #1 way to find your next perfect speaker. With the deepest catalog of professionals available, you can be assured that the speaker you book will be the absolute best speaker based on your goals, bar none. I've been your host, Scott Bloom, corporate event MC and comedic keynote speaker. And of course, your connoisseur of connections. Oh, by the way, and if you're interested, you can book me for your next event on eSpeakers Marketplace at espeakers.com/marketplace. And if you like what you heard, subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. If you loved what you heard, drop us a review, and don't forget to share with your friends. Thanks so much for listening. Now go out and make your event a great one.